All right, we're moving into Unit 6, Part 2, and our first lesson is on volume. So volume is the amount of space that an object occupies. Units are always cubed. So for example, if we were working with centimeters, your answer would be centimeters cubed or inches cubed. You can remember this because you're going to be multiplying three numbers, and now we're working with three-dimensional shapes, so your answer should be cubed. To find the volume of a rectangular prism, use the formula volume equals length times width times height. So it would look like this. V equals L W H. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay, so get out your highlighters. You're going to use three different colors because we're going to be highlighting the length, width, and height of each of the shapes. So for number one, we're finding the volume of a figure that has a length of 25 centimeters, a width of 20 centimeters, and a height of 4 centimeters. So to show your work, you can write volume equals, and my length is 25, my width is 20, and my height is 4. Remember, with multiplication, it really doesn't matter which order you multiply in. You can show your work right here or use a calculator. 25 times 20 times 4 equals 2,000. So your final answer would be 2,000, and we're working with centimeters. And our answer always has to be cubed. So 2,000 centimeters cubed. Example 2, we're going to start by highlighting. My length, 5.3 centimeters. My width, 13.1 centimeters, and my height, my height 4.9 centimeters. So I'm going to multiply my length times my width times my height. So volume equals 5.3 times 13.1 times 4.9. And you can show your work or do it on your calculator. Your final answer should be volume equals 340.2 centimeters cubed. Moving on to examples 3 and 4. As a reminder, when you see these tick marks, that means that all of these lengths are congruent. So if I were to highlight my length, my width, and my height, even though I only have one number here, my fraction, I know that these are all going to be the same. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just highlight right here, and then I'm going to know that I'm going to be multiplying 2.5 times 2.5 times 2.5. So I'm going to start by showing that volume equals 2.5 times 2.5 times 2.5. We know when we are multiplying when we're multiplying mixed numbers, we need to turn our mixed numbers into improper fractions first. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So all of these are going to be 5 halves. 5 halves times 5 halves times 5 halves. So you can use your calculator or do the work in your head. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. This time I'm working with feet, so my units are going to be feet cubed. You can change your answer back into a mixed number if you'd like, or you can keep it as an improper fraction. For example 4, I'm going to be working with fractions again, but I have different lengths this time because it's not a cube. So what I'm going to do is highlight my length, 3.5, my width, 2 1/10, and my height, 3 1/7. So to find the volume, V equals length, 3 1/2, times width, 2 1/10, times height, 3 1/7. Since I'm working with mixed numbers again, I need to change them to improper fractions before I start multiplying. So my first one would be 7/2. My second one would be 21/10. And my third one would be 22/7. So these fractions I can actually simplify before multiplying. So what I'm going to do is look at which ones might have common factors when I look at their diagonals. So I'm going to highlight, I'm going to work with my second two, 21 and 7, and 10 and 22. So you can use your factor chart if you need to. A common factor that I have between 21 and 7 is 7. So I'm going to divide both of these by 7. And between 10 and 22, they're both even numbers. I'm going to divide them both by 2. So now I'm going to have 7/2 times, if I do 21 divided by 7, 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so I have 3/5. And then times, if I simplify this, 22 divided by 2 is 11. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So now this is a lot easier to multiply since it's simplified already. So I have 7 times 3 times 11, which is 231, and 2 times 5 times 1 is 10.